So let's welcome our today's guest, Dr. Mansoor Zekiri, the professor and dean at European Institute of Management Technology, Switzerland. And today he will be talking about how online DBA is taking over PhD in India. Sir, I really wanted to know about you.
Okay, so I would start by introducing myself initially. First of all, thanks a lot for having me on this podcast. My name is Mansour Zachiri. I'm the Dean of Administration and Quality Assurance with the European Institute of Management and Technology. I have studied in Switzerland, Malaysia, and Slovenia, and earned a doctorate in marketing and public relations from the University of Ljubljana in 2019. I joined the IMT in March 2024 as Dean of Administration. I have also previously led two other international schools in Switzerland where I spearheaded business and program development, accreditation, marketing, and instruction in my area of specialization. In addition, I also bring experience as a marketing and PR consultant in Macedonia, especially in the public and political sectors. So that was initially about me. So hopefully we'll have more time during this podcast to get to share ideas and insights.
So, in this podcast, we will be majorly talking about the online DBA and the PhD, how it is different from the PhD program or how it is better from a PhD program in India. So, at first, we would really like to know about the major flaws of a PhD program.
Okay, when we talk about the major flaws of the PhD program or system, not in India in particular, but also some other countries do share the same. The traditional PhD system, for its rigid, also outdated research topics, as well as lack of industry linkage, actually spend years navigating unclear guidance, limited publication opportunities as well, and insufficient global exposure. In contrast to the PhD, a DBA or an online DBA, especially from a globally accredited institution, is structured around practical research. Let's solve real industry problems and not just contribute to academics.
So, why should one consider for an online DBA program instead of PhD?
Main issue, that as I mentioned earlier, a PhD actually faces compared to an online DBA is, the fact that it is structured around practical research. So, if they would like to do research, that would benefit them in their daily life, focus on real world business problems or executive level insights. So definitely an online or a DBA in general is for. So I consider that to be industry problems, not just to contribute to academic theory.
So, in India, to do a PhD program, one has to give entrance examination, that is NET examination, UGC NET examination. So, do I have to give any entrance examination for the online DBA program?
No, I mean, like for the online DBA programs, there are no such requirements actually, despite the fact that there are particular institutions that do request also GMAT tests and the likes. However, mainly when we talk about DBA, such things are not requested. So that's not how to say an obstacle for those potential candidates to join a DBA program.
So, in terms of job, when you do a PhD program, you get a job as a professor or something. But how about getting a job? What space of jobs will I get after completing online DBA program?
When we talk about the opportunities, those are vast. When we talk about an online DBA program, so even if you do a DBA program, it doesn't mean that you cannot teach. So a person can also become a professor, once they pursue a DBA program, especially if they want to teach, business management and entrepreneurship courses, because there are many, let's say, private universities, international institutions that do welcome DBA holders, particularly when they bring like industry, a DBA industry experience that makes them, ideal candidates, for them to join let's say, to join a particular university if they would like to teach. However, even when we talk about them finding a job once they graduate from a DBA program, I think that makes it much easier for them compared to those that do complete a PhD. Not only in India, but even in different parts of the world. I've had the same problem once I finished my PhD. Many of us do struggle with employability because the research that we do might not be aligned with the market needs. So there seems to be a gap between academia and industry. However, those that do, let's say, a DBA, the research that they are going to do or their degree addresses, practical, actionable knowledge. And this is what makes those graduates more appealing to employers, particularly when we talk about leadership and roles, which will open vast and lots of opportunities for them and make these graduates more appealing to their employers.
Okay. So, why is there a significant difference in the program duration of a PhD program and online DBA?
Well, when we talk about the timing or let's say the time constraints about finishing a DBA and on the other side, doing, let's say, a PhD, definitely timing is an issue. Not only in India, PhD often stretches beyond 5 years. Personally, it took me like 6 years, considering the fact that it was like a qualitative research project. However, mainly PhDs, do stretch beyond 5 years, and that can be due to, let's say, administrative delays as well as lack of structured support that universities do provide. When we talk about online DBAs or doctorate programs abroad, these are mainly built on clear timelines. So there is like a strict timeline that they have to follow, what you need to do on your first year, what you need to do on the second year and the third year. And the fact that these DBA programs are built on clear timelines, frequent mentorship as well, and milestone-based progression, this leads to having them completed mainly in 3 years, which makes it much more easier and much even in terms of financing, much more feasible for the students.
Okay, so you mean one can complete the program in just 3 years, despite if the PhD program takes more than 5 years in India.
That's the case because the way that the program is structured, that's why it leads to them having their PhD finished in most of the cases, even in more than 5 years. As I mentioned, DBAs are let's say, as I built on a clear timelines. As I said, it's well structured. What the students are supposed to take in the first year, like in our case, like core courses, then come the specialization courses, and then come the dissertation phase. In certain cases, students, those that are able, so they can finish all that, within the timeline of 3 years.
So in India, only PhD is recognized, whereas the world is indicating the shift towards online DBA program. Why is that so?
Okay, so I think this is something that, in my opinion, became a trend after the COVID. Mainly we were forced to go online, and that's where people realized that these kind of degrees are suitable for certain kind of people. When we talk about online DBA programs, global academic as well as corporate sectors internationally, all of them are shifting toward applied knowledge, and this is where a DBA helps, because it helps to bridge this particular gap between business theory and practice on the other side. In India, in particular, regulatory recognition is still I would say, evolving. However, internationally, a DBA is often preferred for executive positions or consulting or even board membership. So, in my opinion, I think that even the mindset is shifting from, let's say, academic exclusivity to more practical impact that online DBAs do provide for the candidates.
So, as we consider PhD is the biggest degree, and even after that, in India, there are not a lot of innovations or I would say inventions like we see other countries are doing well in this era. So, what do you say about it?
Okay, well, we see many Indians to succeed abroad, but what I would think, I would say that to be, the main issue here is, I would say that many Indian PhDs, in my opinion, are disconnected from the global research ecosystems. Because when we talk about innovation, innovation usually thrives in environments that usually do promote interdisciplinary research, funding as well as commercialization, which in my opinion I think India is still catching up on. So that's why I consider DBA programs, especially those that come from international ones and accredited institutions. Those do expose the learners to global best practices, as well as encourage them to innovation with real world relevance.
So, is it valid in India?
Okay, so while a DBA, isn't currently, let's say, considered to be equivalent to a PhD by Indian regulatory bodies for academic paths, its industry value, I would say, it's immense because it's valid globally, especially if it's provided from a recognized institution. However, in corporate as well as international circles, it commands significant respect, especially when backed by rigorous research as well as recognized awarding body.
So, if you could tell us few top fields where one can pursue online DBA that will be more beneficial for their career.
Yeah, I mean, like when we talk about DBA programs in particular, there are different opportunities for the students to let's say to choose a particular career path. So definitely all that will be based on their personal interest, so to say. So they might choose their field of interest, they might choose their topic of interest, and this is something that they decide especially once they take the core courses which are planned for their DBA program, and then they can choose whether they would like to pursue a DBA in general management or strategic management, in marketing. Now we have lots of programs in entrepreneurship, leadership as well,
Generative AI
and
is also there,
project.
right?
Yeah, so there are different areas that students can pursue their DBA programs. Definitely, it's all based on their interest as well as let's say career objectives that these individuals do have.
And if you could tell us five advantages of online DBA over PhD.
Okay, so when we talk about advantages, I think that's quite obvious. We talked about one of them, which is flexibility,
Yeah.
because you can study while working without pausing your career. It's online, although the classes are synchronous, but most of the classes are planned, after the office hours. The second advantage of an online DBA would be practical impact, as I mentioned earlier. So all the projects that do are done by DBA students do focus on solving real business problems. Another issue that we thoroughly discussed earlier is time efficient. So as I said, most DBAs can be completed in 3 years compared to PhDs that usually do take much more time when we talk about timing. Also, global recognition is another important advantage when we talk about DBA's international exposure and accredited credentials. That make it quite, let's say, attractive for the students. And the last, I would say, advantage, of an online DBA or a DBA in general would be the leadership focus. So most of these programs, not only our program, are tailored for executives that usually do aim for C-level positions or to take any board role.
So a lot of people do a PhD program to get a doctor's title, and they get it. But will I get the doctor title after online DBA program as well?
Yes, I think not. I think, but that's the case. Definitely you will get the doctor title because a DBA is a professional doctorate, and holders are entitled to use the title doctor that we usually accompany when we talk about PhD. However, as we all know, as we emphasized initially, the distinction lies in the focus. So a PhD is more academic, while a DBA is more professional. However, both are at the same level on most international qualification frameworks.
Also, does DBA can a person who wants to become a professor in India or anywhere in abroad uh, pursue online DBA and can become one?
Yeah, I mean, like I think I talked about this a little earlier. So absolutely, especially if they want to teach, business management or entrepreneurship courses. So there is no issue or there is no obstacle for them to become a professor or to teach if they would like to. As I mentioned, also many private universities and international institutions do welcome DBA holders, and in most of the cases, especially for these business schools, DBAs are much more attractive because they bring the industry experience that many PhD holders do not usually bring. However, I think when we talk about India, for academic paths in India, a PhD is still a formal requirement due to their UGC regulations.
So, is it really, will it be helpful for personal branding or getting a seat in the board?
Without a doubt, I would say a DBA can really help the students, especially in terms of their personal branding, as well as get a seat on the board of a particular company that, they find it attractive. Because a DBA sets you apart as a thought leader as well as a problem solver. It's a personal branding asset that signals expertise, discipline, and executive capability. That's why for any board positions, this kind of credibility that DBA students bring, especially when those are backed by original research, these are considered to be highly attractive by companies.
So this means it is quite flexible program and have less duration as compared to PhD program.
Yeah.
And it's not limited to being a professor. What usually people become in India after completing the PhD program. But I can also be the member of the company. I can also be a CEO or the COO of the company after completing
Yeah.
online DBA. So it is actually a very beneficial program.
Yeah, I mean, like students finishing a DBA can divert to to different other roles compared to, as you mentioned, especially in India, when once you do a PhD, you end up being a lecturer, which might not be something that you like doing. With a DBA, and the leadership focus that most of these DBA programs do provide, those help to provide the students with the skills needed for them to succeed in any C-level position or board role.
Okay, so this is all. I would really like you to give some final remarks.
Okay, honestly speaking, thank you for having me on this particular podcast. So, as we come to this end of today's discussion, I want to just leave you with a final thought. As we close this podcast, we can see that the world is changing faster than even before. So industries, leadership, as well as innovation are no longer shaped solely by traditional academic theory, but by those who can bridge knowledge with action. And that's why a DBA, even those that are pursued online, mainly from recognized global institutions, are not considered another degree. I consider it to be a transformational journey. So it's about leading change, influencing industries, solving real world problems, and positioning yourself where impact truly matters. So, whether students aim to climb the corporate ladder, launch a consultancy, influence boardroom decisions, or simply elevate their personal brand to new heights, I consider the online DBA to be a gateway to a future built on relevance, credibility, as well as leadership. So, once again, thank you for tuning in. I would encourage all the students, especially those that are considering a DBA degree, to explore, to question, and most importantly, to lead. So I ensure them that the DBA journey could very well be the beginning of their next great chapter in their life. So until next time, I would suggest and I would encourage them to stay curious, to stay ambitious, and to keep striving for excellence.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this lovely session and informational one. And I think that will be all. Thank you so much
Okay,
for your
thanks a lot
time.
for having me on this podcast once again.